By the time Kenneth Mayfield entered Ole Miss in 1969, the story of James Meredith, who integrated the university 7 years earlier, was a distant memory.
I'm very sorry that anyone had to get hurt or killed.
But as Mayfield recalls, the playing field was not equal for African Americans at the school.
Blacks were still not allowed to play sports. Of course, we didn't have any black professors or blacks in any administrative position. So we sent a list of demands to the university. It was 27 demands. We ended up marching, going into an event at Fulton Chapel at that time.
Mayfield was arrested for causing a disturbance. He was suspended from Ole Miss and he transferred to Tougaloo College. Then he went on to the University of Michigan Law School and graduated at the age of 22. He trained as a civil rights lawyer in Jackson and moved back to Tupelo in June of 1974. Mayfield made a name for himself, filing and winning a number of discrimination cases. Then in 1976, he took the case of Eugene Pasto. The African-American had been arrested by Tupelo police on a bad check charge. When he was stopped, he was in the company of a white woman.
And that was something that was frowned upon, of course, certainly at that time.
Pasto called Mayfield claiming police had beaten him.
I went over and met with him and took some photographs, and he had obviously been beaten very badly.
A lawsuit was later filed, and a federal judge ruled that Pasto had indeed been beaten. Pasto was awarded $2,500, but the African-American community wanted the officers off the force. When that didn't happen, organized boycotts of businesses began, and that took many business owners by surprise.
They picketed, this was about every Saturday for well over a month. They picketed our store, all of Main Street.
The situation came to a boiling point in the summer of 1978 when the United League organized a march of African Americans and the KKK organized its own march on the same day.
We actually met on Spring Street right near the Spring Hill Missionary Baptist Church. The KKK was marching up the street in a northerly direction. We were headed in a southerly direction. And this came as close to a serious confrontation, I guess, that I've ever been in my life, because there were some very radical blacks in the group, and there were a lot of weapons.
Now, nearly 35 years later, Mayfield says a lot of progress has been made, and he is no longer bitter about how he and many others were once treated.
In the early 1990s, after my children were born, and when they were born, and I promised God that I was going to return. I recommitted myself, and I promised that I was going to bring my children up in the same type Christian environment that I came up in.
Mayfield says that led to a softening of his heart, and it also allowed him to forgive those who had wronged him. He encourages his kids and others to never forget the past, but also to not be bound by those times. In Tupelo, I'm Allie Martin, WCBI News.